In the year 2147, humanity's reach into the stars had grown far beyond what anyone once thought possible. The EOS, a sleek exploration vessel, drifted silently through the vast darkness of space near Proxima Centauri. Its mission was simple: to chart new regions of the galaxy and search for signs of life. What the crew found, however, was something no one could have predicted. The first sign of trouble came when Lieutenant Laura Bennett, the ship's pilot, noticed an unusual blip on her radar. At first, she thought it might be a stray asteroid or some kind of sensor malfunction, but as the blip grew stronger, it became clear that they were not alone. A fleet of alien ships, their designs sleek and unfamiliar, appeared in the distance. They moved with precision, forming a loose circle around the EOS. Commander Jacob Hale, a hardened military officer with years of experience under his belt, immediately took charge. "All hands, prepare for potential engagement," he ordered, his voice firm and commanding. The crew scrambled to their stations, tension thick in the air. No one spoke about the fear that gripped them. All this was humanity's first encounter with extraterrestrial life, and no one knew what to expect. Rachel Monroe, the ship's linguist, stood by Daniel Carter, the physicist, as they studied the strange signals emanating from the alien fleet. The signals were rhythmic, almost musical, pulsing in patterns that seemed deliberate. Rachel leaned closer to her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's a language," she said finally, her voice steady, despite the chaos around her. "They're trying to communicate." Daniel nodded, his fingers flying over the keys of his own terminal. Together, they worked tirelessly to decode the message. Hours passed before they made any real progress, but when they did, the translation sent shivers down their spines. The message was simple, yet profound: "We seek peace." Jacob, however, was not convinced. He paced the bridge, his face grim. "This could be a trick," he muttered, glancing at the view screen, where the alien ships loomed ominously. "We can't trust them just because they say they want peace?" His skepticism spread quickly among the crew, fueling their unease. Rachel tried to reason with him. "Commander, we don't know anything about them yet. If they wanted to attack us, they've had plenty of chances. Why send a message like this if they're planning something hostile?" Her words were calm but insistent, reflecting her belief that humanity had a responsibility to listen. But Jacob wouldn't budge. To him, caution meant survival. When one of the alien ships began moving closer to the EOS, he saw it as confirmation of his suspicions. Without hesitation, he gave the order to power up the ship's defenses. The hum of energy shields activating filled the room, and the tension skyrocketed. On board the approaching alien vessel, there was no sign of aggression. Instead, a small object detached from the craft and floated toward the EOS. It was crystalline, shimmering faintly in the light of nearby stars. Daniel examined it closely once it was brought aboard. "It's beautiful," he murmured, turning it over in his hands. "And it's emitting the same harmonic signals we detected earlier." Rachel's eyes lit up. "It's a gift," she said, "a symbol of goodwill." But Jacob wasn't swayed. "Or a weapon disguised as a gesture," he countered. His distrust was unwavering, and his decision to keep the EOS on high alert only widened the divide between him and those who believed the aliens deserved a chance. As the hours ticked by, the situation grew more precarious. The crew of the EOS found themselves caught between two paths, one of fear and hostility, the other of hope and understanding. And somewhere out there, among the stars, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The tension aboard the EOS was palpable as the alien fleet remained in formation, their ships glowing faintly against the backdrop of endless space. Rachel Monroe and Daniel Carter continued to analyze the crystalline artifact gifted by the Veil, hoping to uncover more about its purpose. The harmonic signals it emitted were unlike anything they had encountered before, complex yet soothing, almost like a song. Daniel adjusted his glasses, his expression one of awe. "It's not just a gift," he said softly. It's a message, a deeper one. Rachel nodded, her fingers tracing the smooth surface of the crystal. She felt a strange warmth emanating from it, as if the object itself carried some form of life or intelligence. They're trying to show us they mean no harm, she said. This isn't random. It's deliberate. Her voice carried a note of hope, but it fell flat in the face of Commander Jacob Hale's growing suspicion. Jacob stood on the bridge, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. He watched the viewscreen intently, his eyes narrowing as another Veil ship approached the Eos. This time, the vessel hovered closer than before, its movements slow and deliberate. To Jacob, it felt like a challenge, a test of humanity's resolve. Power up the weapons, he ordered sharply, his tone leaving no room for argument. Laura Bennett hesitated at her station, her hands hovering over the controls. She glanced at Rachel, who shook her head subtly. Laura swallowed hard but obeyed the order. The hum of the Eos's weapon systems echoed through the ship, causing several crew members to exchange uneasy glances. Kevin Murphy, the ship's engineer, muttered under his breath, "We're jumping the gun here," he said quietly to Daniel. "They haven't done anything wrong. Why are we acting like they're the enemy?" Daniel didn't respond, but his clenched jaw spoke volumes. Meanwhile, the Veil ship made no aggressive moves. Instead, it extended a long, slender arm-like structure toward the Eos, holding what appeared to be another object similar to the crystalline artifact. Rachel noticed this immediately. "Commander, wait," she called out, her voice urgent. "They're offering something else." Another gesture. But Jacob wasn't listening. His focus was locked on the approaching arm, his mind already framing it as a potential threat. If they wanted peace, they wouldn't keep coming closer, he snapped. Without waiting for further input, he gave the order to fire a warning shot, a burst of energy, aimed just ahead of the Veil ship. The shot streaked across the void, illuminating the darkness for a brief moment. The effect was immediate. The Veil ship halted its advance, retracting the arm and retreating slightly. For a moment, there was silence not just on the EOS, but, seemingly throughout the alien fleet. Then, a new signal came through, stronger and more insistent than before. Rachel rushed to translate it, her heart pounding. When the words finally appeared on her screen, she froze. "They're asking why we attacked them," she said, her voice trembling. "They don't understand why we're being hostile." Jacob scowled, pacing the length of the bridge. "Of course they don't," he growled. "Because they're playing innocent. We can't afford to take chances, not when the survival of our species is on the line." His words hung heavy in the air, but they did little to reassure the crew. Doubts began to creep into their minds, and whispers of dissent started to spread. Kevin approached Rachel during a rare lull in the chaos. "He's making a mistake," Kevin said, his voice low but firm. "These aliens aren't attacking us. They're reaching out, and we're pushing them away. What happens if they decide we're not worth the effort?" Rachel sighed, rubbing her temples. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I do know that every choice we make right now matters. If we keep escalating, we might lose the chance to learn from them more, even coexist." Her words carried weight, but convincing Jacob to change his stance seemed impossible. As the hours dragged on, the Veil fleet remained stationary, neither advancing nor retreating. Their ships pulsed with soft, rhythmic lights, as though waiting patiently for humanity to make the next move. On board the EOS, the crew grappled with uncertainty. Some, like Kevin and Rachel, believed in diplomacy and understanding. Others, swayed by Jacob's caution, clung to fear and distrust. In the quiet moments between crises, Daniel stared at the crystalline artifact, lost in thought. He couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was standing on the edge of something monumental, a choice that would define their future among the stars. But whether that future would be one of cooperation or conflict remained to be seen. The divide among the crew of the EOS grew wider with each passing hour. Rachel Monroe and Daniel Carter spent most of their time in the lab, studying the crystalline artifact and trying to decode more of the Veil's signals. They believed that understanding the aliens' language was key to avoiding disaster. "If we can just show them we're willing to listen," Rachel said, her voice filled with determination, "maybe we can prevent this from escalating further." Kevin Murphy, the ship's engineer, often joined them. He admired their dedication and shared their belief in diplomacy. "We've got a chance here," Kevin said one evening as he helped adjust the equipment. "These aliens aren't attacking us. They're reaching out. Why can't we meet them halfway?" His frustration with Commander Jacob Hale's stubbornness was evident, and it mirrored the growing unrest among the crew. On the bridge, however, Jacob's influence remained strong. He continued to view the Veil as a potential threat, refusing to entertain the idea of peace talks. "Every second we waste talking is a second they could use to prepare an attack," he told Laura Bennett when she cautiously suggested reopening communication. Laura, who had initially supported Jacob's cautious approach, now found herself questioning his decisions. She glanced at the viewscreen, where the Veil fleet still lingered silently. "They haven't fired a single shot," she pointed out. "Isn't that worth something?" Jacob didn't respond directly. Instead, he turned his attention to the tactical display, muttering about contingency plans. His unwillingness to consider alternative perspectives only deepened the rift aboard the EOS. Some crew members began meeting in secret, sharing their concerns and discussing ways to push for diplomacy. Rachel became the unofficial leader of this group, using her position as linguist to argue for patience and understanding. One day, during a routine check of the ship's systems, Kevin discovered something unusual. A faint energy signature was emanating from the crystalline artifact, pulsing in sync with the harmonic signals the Veil had been sending. Excited, he called Rachel and Daniel over. "This isn't just a message," Kevin said, pointing to the readings on his tablet. "It's like a map or a guide, maybe even an invitation." Daniel's eyes widened as he processed the implications. "You think they're showing us how to communicate on a deeper level?" he asked. Rachel nodded, her mind racing. "It's possible," she said. "If we can figure this out, we might be able to send a proper response, not just words, but something they'll truly understand." But getting Jacob to agree to such an effort was another matter entirely. When Rachel presented her findings to him, he dismissed them outright. "We don't have time for experiments," he snapped. "Our priority is protecting this ship and everyone on it." Frustrated but undeterred, Rachel decided to take matters into her own hands. With Kevin and Daniel's help, she began working on a way to amplify the artifact's signals, hoping to establish a direct line of communication with the VEYL. As tensions mounted, so did the pressure on Laura, caught between her duty to follow orders and her growing belief in the need for dialogue. She struggled to find a middle ground. One night, after a particularly heated argument with Jacob, she confided in Kevin. "I don't want to be part of starting a war," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I also can't ignore my responsibilities. What am I supposed to do?" Kevin placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone in this," he said. "We all feel the same way, and if we stick together, maybe we can change things before it's too late." Despite the mounting challenges, small acts of defiance began to emerge. Crew members started leaving notes of encouragement for Rachel and her team, offering support in subtle ways. Even Laura found herself bending the rules slightly, giving Rachel and Daniel extra time to work on their project without reporting it to Jacob. Amid the chaos, the Veil remained eerily patient. Their ships stayed in formation, their lights pulsing softly as though waiting for humanity to make a decision. On board the EOS, the crew faced a choice: continue down the path of fear and hostility, or take a leap of faith and trust that peace was still possible. The weight of that decision hung heavily over everyone, shaping their actions and testing their resolve. The situation aboard the EOS grew more tense with each passing day. Rachel Monroe, Daniel Carter, and Kevin Murphy worked tirelessly in secret, trying to amplify the signals from the crystalline artifact. They knew time was running out. Jacob Hale's patience was wearing thin, and his mistrust of the Veil only deepened. The crew could feel the pressure mounting, as if they were standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to step back or jump. One evening, Rachel finally managed to stabilize the artifact's energy output. She turned to Daniel, her eyes shining with excitement. "We can do it," she said. "If we send this signal back to the Veil, they'll know we're trying to understand them." Daniel nodded, though his expression remained cautious. "It's risky," he admitted. "What if Jacob finds out? He'll shut us down for sure." Kevin stepped forward, determination etched on his face. "Then we don't let him find out," he said firmly. "This might be our only chance to show the Veil we're not all like him. We have to take it." With no other options left, Rachel and Daniel agreed. Together, they prepared to transmit the amplified signal, hoping it would bridge the gap between humanity and the alien fleet. As they activated the equipment, Laura Bennett kept watch on the bridge. She had volunteered to distract Jacob, knowing how dangerous their plan was. When he asked why she wasn't at her station, she lied smoothly. "I'm running diagnostics on the navigation systems," she said, avoiding his gaze. Jacob frowned but didn't press further. Too focused on monitoring the Veil fleet, the signal shot out into space. Invisible to the naked eye, but powerful enough to reach the Veil ships. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one of the alien vessels lit up brightly, its surface shimmering with intricate patterns. The lights pulsed in response, creating a dazzling display that left everyone staring in awe. The Veil had received the message they were answering. Rachel's hands trembled as she analyzed the incoming data. "They're sending something back," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "It's an invitation, a request to meet." Daniel leaned closer, his eyes scanning the translation. "They want us to come to one of their ships," he said. "They're offering safe passage." News of the breakthrough spread quickly among the crew, reigniting hope for diplomacy. But when Jacob discovered what had happened, his reaction was explosive. "You did what?" he roared, storming into the lab where Rachel and her team were gathered. His face was red with anger, and his fists clenched at his sides. "Do you realize what you've done? You've put this entire mission, everyone on this ship at risk." Rachel stood her ground, meeting his glare with unwavering resolve. "We gave them a chance to talk," she said. "Isn't that better than firing first and asking questions later?" Her words struck a nerve, silencing Jacob momentarily. But his pride wouldn't let him back down. "We don't negotiate with unknown threats," he snapped. "This ends now." Despite his objections, the rest of the crew began to rally behind Rachel and her team. Even Laura spoke up, her voice steady despite the tension. "Commander, maybe it's time we listened," she said. "They haven't attacked us once. If there's even a small chance they want peace, shouldn't we take it?" Jacob hesitated, torn between his duty to protect the crew and the growing realization that he might be wrong. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. But before he could respond, another transmission came through from Earth. The message was brief but alarming. Public opinion on the encounter was divided, and political leaders were calling for decisive action. Some wanted peace talks. Others demanded retaliation, as the weight of the decision fell heavily on Jacob's shoulders. The crew braced themselves for what would come next. The Veil's offer still hung in the air, a fragile thread connecting to species on the brink of either understanding or conflict. On board the EOS, hearts raced and tempers flared. But one thing was clear: humanity's future depended on the choices made in the moments to follow. Back on Earth, news of the encounter with the Veil spread like wildfire. The images and reports sent by the EOS captivated the world, sparking heated debates across every corner of society. Some people saw the Veil as a threat, their advanced technology and mysterious presence fueling fears of invasion. Others viewed them as an opportunity, a chance to learn, grow, and perhaps even form alliances in the vastness of space. Politicians, scientists, and ordinary citizens weighed in, each side pushing for its own agenda. Senator Alan Brooks was one of the loudest voices calling for action. A staunch advocate for military readiness, he stood before cameras and microphones, his tone firm and unyielding. "We cannot afford to show weakness," he declared. "If these aliens wanted peace, they wouldn't have surrounded our ship. This is a test of our strength, and we must respond decisively." His words resonated with many who feared the unknown, rallying support for a hardline stance against the Veil. On the other side of the debate were activists and scientists who argued for restraint. Among them was Dr. Emily Grant, a renowned xenobiologist known for her work in interstellar research. In interviews and public statements, she urged humanity to approach the situation with caution and curiosity rather than hostility. "These beings reached out to us first," she said during a televised panel discussion. "They offered gestures of goodwill, yet we responded with suspicion and aggression. If we continue down this path, we risk losing an opportunity that may never come again." The division extended beyond politics and science. Protests erupted in cities around the globe, with thousands taking to the streets to voice their opinions. In New York, crowds gathered outside the United Nations headquarters, holding signs that read "Talk, Don't Fight," and "Peace over Pride." Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., counter-protesters waved flags and chanted slogans demanding protection from potential alien threats. The air was thick with tension, reflecting the uncertainty gripping humanity. Amid the chaos, Rachel Monroe and her team aboard the EOS worked tirelessly to sway opinion in favor of diplomacy. Using footage captured during their interactions with the Veil, they created a video message highlighting the aliens' peaceful gestures, the crystalline artifact, the harmonic signals, and their patient response to humanity's hostility. Rachel narrated the video herself, her voice calm but impassioned. "They've given us no reason to fear them," she said. "Instead, they've shown us kindness and understanding. Isn't it time we did the same?" The video was smuggled onto Earth's communication networks by Laura Bennett, who risked severe consequences to ensure it reached the public. Once released, it went viral within hours, igniting a wave of support for peaceful negotiations. Social media platforms buzzed with hashtags like #ListenToTheVEYL and #ChoosePeace, while petitions urging world leaders to pursue diplomacy gained millions of signatures. Despite the growing movement, Jacob Hale remained unmoved. Orders arrived from Earth's Central Command, instructing him to prepare for any contingency including full-scale conflict. He relayed the instructions to his crew, his expression grim. "Our priority is survival," he reminded them. "If the Veil refuse to leave human space, we'll have no choice but to act." Rachel couldn't stay silent. "And what happens if we attack them?" she asked, her voice trembling with frustration. "You've seen their technology. They're far more advanced than we are. If we escalate this, we might not survive it all." Her words hung in the air, forcing everyone to confront the reality of their situation. As the days passed, the crew of the EOS found themselves caught between two worlds, their home planet, divided and uncertain, and the alien fleet, waiting patiently in the void. The Veil sent another message, this time more urgent. "Your actions endanger both our peoples." Rachel translated it quickly, her heart sinking as she realized how close they were to disaster. Laura approached Jacob privately, her face pale, but determined. "Commander, I know you think you're doing what's best," she said softly. "But if we keep going like this, we might lose everything. Please, let's try talking one more time." Jacob stared at her for a long moment, his jaw tight. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes, but whether it was enough to change his mind remained to be seen.